Good afternoon. Our speaker for this week is Duygu Selin Turkmen with a speech entitled Relationships Dynamics. She is attending McMaster University majoring in social psychology. She will talk about women with high income in romantic heterosexual relationships. She'll also include information about beliefs and realities in divorce and ending relationships. How does a woman's high income impact the relationship? Why do people divorce? Is it possible to have a successful second marriage? Please help me welcome Dougie for her speech, Relationships Dynamics.
Hi everyone, let me share my screen. So I will talk about the relationships and dynamics, which includes, like Eunice told, beliefs and realities in divorce and ending relationships. Also, women with high income in romantic relationships. So I would like to ask you if it's a myth or a fact, even though I just showed the answer. Divorce rate is lower in lower socioeconomic status because they can't afford to leave their marriage. So if you agree with that, raise your hand. Because it's a myth. In fact, people with less than high school education at the time of their first marriage face a 38% greater risk of divorce than those who completed high school. So this research shows that the amount of education level affects the divorce rate. Higher the education level is, partners are more likely to stay in the marriage because it has an impact on the decision-making process. To have a successful marriage, there's a need for an effective decision-making skills. That means it is not a problem for people coming from low socioeconomic backgrounds to have a successful marriage. The next one is second marriages are more likely to end in divorce than first marriages. So if you agree with this, raise your hand. I saw Dorothy's hand. Anyone else? Well, it's a myth. It's actually reality remarriages made after the age of 40 are more stable than first marriages due to the partner's increased maturity. So shared beliefs about second marriages discourage people from getting divorced or remarried. So people may assume marriage as a one-time commitment that should possibly last forever, and people try to find the ideal partner. However, individuals might not consider remarriage in their 40s because they don't want to get through the same experience. But so the good news is for older people who are pessimistic about second marriage, you can have a successful marriage even though you're old. It might be because of the experience you have gained throughout your life. It will improve your choices with partners and help you to figure out what is right for you. And so let me start with the causes of divorce. Couples' emotional interaction, personal characteristics such as being naturally more caring, compromising, or compassionate. It can also play a role in marriages and divorces. Communication. So the importance of communication for the success of relationships is important, but knowing how to communicate or problem solve maybe still not be enough if there is no mutual respect and admiration. And happy couples are more likely to have individual characteristics that make them more even-tempered and warm-hearted. And they're also more likely to show goodwill toward their partners and therefore more likely to work through any differences. So I will take this causes of divorce in three different perspectives: micro, macro, and meso. So for the micro level, people are more likely to divorce due to poor communication and conflict resolution skills, lack of commitment to the spouse or to the intuition of marriage, few shared values and interests, inequity between spouses, limited respect, love, and affection on the part of one or both partners. For the meso, so age at marriage is one of the causes. And I would like to, yeah. Okay, yeah. So before meso, I will look at the macro level, which is economic cycle. So people are less likely to divorce when they have financial difficulties. And the second one is gender expectations. So when social structures allow women more economic independence from men and families, women have more freedom to divorce. Also, a growing similarity of women's and men's lives may produce less marital cohesion than compared to the marriage. And the last one is the cultural values and social integration. Since the mid-20th century, the cultural value placed on marriage has been declining because formal marriage has lost much of its normative support and social appeal. From the perspective of the meso level, so the first one is age at marriage. Early marriage tends to reduce educational achievement. So people who marry at an early age or after only a short relationship is run an especially high risk of divorce because of the stress, conflict, and dissatisfaction that arise when two immature people who don't know each other well try to work out a life together. And the second one is cohabitation before marriage. So cohabitation, couples who were engaged before cohabiting tend to divorce less. So it might be because societal and family pressures may push cohabiting people into marriage before they are even ready, or if they are, they don't even consider if they are suited for marriage or for each other. And the third reason is second or subsequent marriage. So second marriages are more likely than first marriages to end in divorce. The risk in Canada is estimated to be about 10% higher than in first marriages. And when marriages work out, it is typically because the remarried people are older than average, because older people are less likely to divorce. However, young people who remarry are more likely to divorce than older people who remarry. And the other reason is the parental divorce. So people whose parents divorce are more likely to divorce, have a greater tendency not to marry, are less likely to believe that marriages can last. Before passing to the next thing, so people whose parents divorce are less likely to believe that marriages can last. That makes them more likely to divorce when things get tough. And they may have married before they were ready out of fear that they would be alone, like their parents. And they may have married before they understood what marriage was all about. And because their parents' marriage did not last long enough for them to find out about the successful marriage. And they may be the victims of optimism. So this doesn't mean that if your parents are divorced, your risk of divorce is automatically high. It is not. Many children of divorced parents remarry well, marry well, like have a successful marriage and live happily. So it's not like an end of the world. There are still chances of people who can have like a successful marriage, even though their parents were divorced. So the other cause is the premarital pregnancy or childbearing and childlessness. So for the premarital pregnancy, people who marry after having a child, the risk of divorce is high. And for the childlessness, people are more likely to divorce when they don't have a child. The other reason is the early stage of marriage. Lowest risk of divorce is in the first year of marriage. So the rate follows an inverted U shape that is skewed toward the left. So before the first anniversary, divorce occurs in less than 1 in every 1,000 marriages. After the first anniversary, the rate goes up to 4.3, and then 18, then 25, 25.7, and then it goes down slowly each year after the fourth anniversary. And after 15 years of marriage, couples are less likely to divorce. The explanation is that the more time and energy people invest in their marriage, the higher are the costs of abandoning the marriage and starting a new life. It will be harder, and it will not be easy to leave the marriage after 15 years. And the other one is the urban. So people living in urban centers are much more likely to divorce than people in rural areas due to demand and the stress of urban life. The other reason is the religion. So the more religious people are, the less likely they would like to divorce, even if they're unhappy in their marriages. And couples in which the partners belong to different religions are more likely to divorce than couples who belong to the same religion. So the other reason will be the socioeconomic status. The divorce rate increases as one moves down to the socioeconomic ladder. So economic stresses produce marital stress, but according to Kilovold, he found that the wives' incomes are not predictive of divorce. Instead, what matters is whether the husband has full-time work. So why? Why is it? Like, what's the problem? So men, it's due to the gender roles, unfortunately. Men are expected to be financially and emotionally stronger because of the gender norms, which results in fear of lost masculinity. For example, if a woman is seen as the head of the household, the man may feel weakened as he would be losing the control. Also, fewer earnings among female employees lead men to be dominant in the financial decision-making in the relationship. So when the women have high income, they are afraid of losing the control. So how do women with high income act in the relationship? First of all, they avoid making decisions in a relationship. It just not to distort this dynamic. Women with high incomes will avoid any kind of decisions in a relationship. The second one is they will make an economic contribution to the joint bank account instead of a separate one, just to protect their partner's self-respect. However, women create this false sense of collective economic power to hide that they are the breadwinner in the relationship. And lastly, they hold their partners accountable for money. So, like, it happens just because women want to fit into the traditional roles. They don't want to distort this relationship dynamic that society has settled for. It includes giving the family budget responsibility to men. So financially, women tend to be categorized as background characters to create male-dominant family dynamics. While women try to fit in the gender roles, they put themselves in a vulnerable position to any case of money-related issues because they are not in control of their own money, and it results in financial inequality. So this is my end of my presentation. Thank you for listening. And I have a couple of questions, especially for the older people, since they have more experiences in their lives. So I will also post this in the chat. So what is marriage for you? What are your experiences in marriage? How would you like your marriage to be? And have you ever married a second time? And what's your opinion on marriage? Thank you for listening.